Saturday, August the 7th, 1993, the start of a new season in the Scottish Premier Division, and one which prompts football supporters throughout the country to ask this question: who will be able to topple the mighty Rangers from their position as the leading team? In the close season, a new facility has been added to Pittodrie Stadium, the Richard Donald Stand, built to commemorate their late chairman Dick Donald, a man who gave a lifetime as a player and director of the club. The £4.5 million stand, which houses more than 4,000 fans, plus a whole range of corporate facilities, has meant that Aberdeen Football Club is only one of a handful of Scottish clubs who've complied with the recommendations set out in the Taylor report. But could they match up on the field? Goalkeeper Theo Snelders, the Dutch international, skipper Alex McLeish, the club's longest-serving player, and Stuart McKimmie are the backbone of the team. But manager Willie Miller has to look for something extra from his younger players. Players like Scott Booth, powerful and strong running up front, and the ebullient Ian Jess, a striker with the capacity to change a game with his vision and skill. The opening fixture brought a trip to Tannadice to face Dundee United, with their new manager Ivan Golacs bidding to give his charges a bit more bite. Nearly 14,000 fans were there to see this battle of the new firm, with the Dons fielding a strong side. But it was United who struck first, through the talented Billy McKinlay. Aberdeen's Mixu Patalainen and Scott Booth came close early in the second half. But it was the young Don striker who latched on to a Lee Richardson pass to grab the equaliser and give the Dons a share of the points. And from Tannadice to Pittodrie's opening Premier Division match of the season against Tommy Burns' Kilmarnock.
The first real chance fell to the Dons. Booth's cross from the right was chested down by Shearer. Kane's shot deflected just wide. Minutes later, Bett's short corner was played in by Kane. Lee Richardson headed over. At the other end, Killy's Mark Skilling found himself in space on the right. But Williamson just failed to get in the end of it. Riley's corner was punched clear by Snelders. McPherson took his time and knocked it wide to Black. He made space for himself and crossed it back in. This time Snelders struggled to get a hold of it. It was played back to Mitchell, who drove it straight through a ruck of players. Gary Smith cleared off the line. Killy were having a real go now. McCluskey found Mitchell on the right, but his right foot effort was blocked by Connor. Duncan Shearer and Andy Millen got involved in a heated exchange as the pace of the match increased. Both went for the ball in the centre circle and clashed in the process. Referee Morrison booked both men. Killy pushed forward again. Black sent Williamson off in the clear, but Snelders saved well. Then another good chance for Tommy Burns' men. Black's free kick was driven low and hard, but it fell to Mitchell, who cracked it back in, but again Snelders saved the Dons. Incredibly, no goals then in the first 45 minutes, but that all changed seconds into the second half. Jess now on for Patalainen as Connor found Shearer, who knocked it out to the left to Jess. He played it into Bett, who touched it back to Paul Kane. A great finish from him, 1-0 to the Dons.
7 days later, it was back down to Tayside, this time to face Dundee, in what was to see Duncan Shearer grab his first league goal of the season.
McLeish nipping in ahead there, getting it through now to Ian Jess. Shearer's running through, good running by Shearer. It's a marvellous goal by Aberdeen. The perfect start. 2 minutes gone here at Dens Park. And delight there on the face of Duncan Shearer. Brilliantly set up by Ian Jess. The players combining well. That's a goal that will please the manager. The long ball had been played through by Alex McLeish. Jess controlled it brilliantly. Good running there by Shearer. And just keeping things calm, rolling it into the path of the big striker, and he picked his spot in the back of the net. Pittman's trying to get forward, challenging Stephen Wright all the way. And the ball given away by the defender. The chance down here for Vikhos. The ball takes a deflection. Dodds is in there, and Dundee have equalised. 54 minutes, and Billy Dodds puts Dundee back into this game. Dundee won, Aberdeen won. Well, it all began with slack play out on the left side by Stephen Wright. The ball was played into the middle. Vikhos hit it first time. It came off McKimmie, and then Dodds was there to finish it off.
1-1 at Dens Park. Midweek brought the League Cup third-round tie against Motherwell and a 5-2 victory for the Dons. But the highs of that cup tie were followed by the lows of the league the following Saturday with a 0-0 draw at St Johnstone. Many of the players were drained after a difficult League Cup quarter-final tie at Ibrox the following midweek when the Dons went down 2-1. They were back in Glasgow 3 days later to face the other half of the old firm, and it was a day for Mixu Patalainen to remember.
This is Dovchik. Edmund steps in. Aberdeen breaking out of defence. Collins on the deck. But the referee was well up for the play, waving play on. It's laid off by Shearer to Booth. Patalainen's in a lot of space in the left, running through the left-hand side of the penalty area. Still it's Booth taking on the defender, doing well. And he has to settle for the corner kick. Well, he took on Galloway, and the cover was eventually provided by McNally. Shearer in there, it's very untidy, and Aberdeen take the lead. It's Mixu Patalainen. Well, the Celtic defence all over the place. 55 minutes gone, Celtic caught completely, and Mixu Patalainen steps in to open his account for the new season.
The following Saturday it was a third successive away day, this time to Easter Road in the league. And although Aberdeen fans expected another victory, it wasn't to be, even though Duncan Shearer was again on target with his 6th goal of the season.
Alex McLeish battle-scarred within the first 10 seconds. But the Hibs fans had only to wait 8 minutes for the opener. The Aberdeen defence posted missing as Darren Jackson ran through. He squared to Wright, who laid the ball off to Kevin McAllister. The winger did the rest. The Dons responded positively. McKimmie and Miller linking on the right, and Duncan Shearer forcing Jim Leighton to make a fine save. Kevin McAllister was a constant threat to the Dons' defence. With 17 minutes gone, he dispossessed McKimmie, made space for himself and fired in an effort just over the bar. Hibs increased their lead in the 37th minute. Keith Wright raced on to a Michael O'Neill pass. He survived McLeish's challenge and squeezed the ball past Schnelders. 2-0 Hibs. Aberdeen battled hard to get back into this game in the second half. Joe Miller led the assault on the Hibs goal, but Jim Leighton was determined to deny his former colleague. He kept Miller at bay, not just once, but twice. The Dons were trying desperately to reduce the deficit. Patalainen's chip across goal gave McLeish a chance, but his header came back off the bar. Amid the Aberdeen pressure, Hibs broke free and they almost made it 3-0. Darren Jackson denied by a great save from Theo Schnelders. Jim Leighton matched it at the other end, saving well from Paul Kane. Aberdeen did eventually manage to beat Leighton though. It took a great shot from Duncan Shearer to do it. The goal at last for the Dons, but it was too little too late. 2-1 Hibs.
Alec McLeish may have been battle-scarred in that game, but 7 days later he was back in action for the home match against Rangers.
Obviously beating Rangers here was a terrific match for us and everybody involved. I think Rangers have set the standards for everybody, and for anybody to beat them, I suppose it's a wee bit of a fill-up for them, and you should grow in confidence after it. And we went on a half-decent run after that, and if we'd maintained that type of form, I'm sure we'd have seen ourselves amongst the trophies this season, but it wasn't to be. But we have to soldier on and keep striving to compete with Rangers.
Rangers were the first to pose a real threat. Gary Stevens' cross, Mark Hateley's header fumbled by Snelders. The keeper did well to recover as Houstra and Miller moved in. It was Aberdeen, though, who opened the scoring in the 16th minute. Ian Jess made space for himself and let fly. Maxwell saved but couldn't hold it, and Duncan Shearer thrashed the ball into the net. The Dons were in full flight now. Ian Jess in spectacular form. And it was his skill and determination which carved open the Rangers' defence in the 34th minute. It resulted in Stephen Pressley putting the ball into his own net. 2-0 Aberdeen, and Rangers in disarray. The Dons started the second half in similar vein. Duncan Shearer failed to make the most of these chances 90 seconds after the restart. Moments later, slack marking in the Rangers' defence gave him another opportunity, but his header went wide. But the star of the show had to be Ian Jess, who mesmerised his opponents with his skill before attempting to put Shearer clear. Maxwell there first. Aberdeen had the ball in the net again in the 52nd minute, but Shearer was judged offside, a marginal decision. Rangers put Duncan Ferguson on for Houstra in a bid to turn things in their favour. The young striker tried his best, but this was Aberdeen's day.
Shearer was on a roll, and this was clearly evident from the following week's home game against Premier Division new boys Raith Rovers, who, like Kilmarnock, had already impressed him.
They played particularly well, if I remember, in the first half, and it was quite a close game. But we scored a goal middle of the way through the second half, I can remember, and then they just seemed to fall apart, and we got, I think, 3 in the space of the last 10 minutes or something, you know, to really kill them off.
It was the Dons who took the lead in the 31st minute. Paul Kane winning possession twice before finding Duncan Shearer, who drilled the ball past Carson for his 9th goal of the season. Shearer continued to pose the Raith defence problems and was prepared to have a go from any distance. This volley on the turn, though, was saved by Carson. With 5 minutes to go till the break, Aberdeen had the visitors' defence in a flap. Shearer headed the ball across goal. Joe Miller found the target, but Ronnie Coyle cleared off the line. Aberdeen well in command and leading 1-0 at half-time, but Raith Rovers showed early in the second half they hadn't given up the fight. Colin Cameron's header forcing a save from Theo Snelders. The Dons went 2 up in the 56th minute. Shearer found Connor, whose low cross was swept into the net by Ian Jess. Simple, but very effective. Aberdeen's third goal caught the Raith defence flat-footed. McStay's clearance was headed by Jess to Lee Richardson, who tried his luck from 25 yards. Tom Carson didn't see it until it was too late. Aberdeen now in top gear, and Richardson made it 4-0 6 minutes from time. Shearer's cross caused the initial danger. Joe Miller cut the ball back, and Richardson lashed it into the net. Raith Rovers scored the proverbial consolation goal 2 minutes from time. Snelders palming the corner only as far as Sean Dennis, who hit the target. At 4-1 to Aberdeen, who now top the Premier table.
Duncan Shearer there in the mood to bring some more silverware to the Pittodrie boardroom, where the 1983 European Cup Winners' Cup still takes pride of place.
He's been a magnificent signing over the past 2 seasons, scoring goals in all the games for us, you know, the ordinary games as well as the important games. And really, this season, he's continued that job. Perhaps what we needed was other players round about him to continue in the same vein that they left off last season, which perhaps didn't happen to the extent that I would hope that it would have happened this season.
0-0 draws at Motherwell and against Hearts at home brought disappointment to Willie Miller. And although the manager was pleased Shearer was again on the mark against Partick Thistle at Firhill on October the 9th, 2 costly points were dropped. Mixu Patalainen's height and strength were beginning to pay dividends, and he was to prove a formidable frontman in the league games against Kilmarnock at Rugby Park and against the Dundee sides at home.
Chested down by Shearer, despite the attentions of Black. Long one now from Kane, looking for Patalainen. The header! That is a goal! Well, Patalainen's header, catching Bobby Guinness. 72 minutes gone. The deadlock is broken at last. The high ball played forward. There seemed no real danger here. Patalainen got his head to the ball. And they come off the underside of the bar. Catching Geddes. Tom Black. Skimming. Mitchell. Again, it's Mitchell trying the shot. It's a good one. It's a marvellous goal. Ali Mitchell. 75 minutes gone. And Kilmarnock give the perfect reply. Well, from the moment you hit that one, it looked good all the way, and it caught Snelders completely by surprise. Tremendous right foot shot into the far corner.
Patalainen and Shearer got the goals in the following week's 2-0 win over Dundee United at home. Then it was Dundee's turn to come to Pittodrie.
With time running out, it looked like Dundee were going to make it. But with 7 minutes to go, their luck ran out. An intelligent chip to the far post, just finding Robert Connor, and Duncan Shearer was there to tap the ball home.
Two victories were, however, followed by a share of the points at St Johnstone, the first of 3 successive draws.
Sean McCauley took the kick and Gary McGuinness stole in to head home, leaving major inquests taking place in the Aberdeen defence. When the Dons went after an equaliser, they found Andy Rhodes in defiant mood. Duncan Shearer robbed of glory by a great reflex save. Then the first of many confusing moments involving the officials after Shearer and John Ingalls tangled. Referee Joe Timmins ran to the spot, but then decided to go with his linesman and give a free kick. The Dons had another penalty claim waved aside before half-time when McGuinness cut out Patalainen's attempted through ball. And the replay would suggest that the claim did have some merit. 1-0 at half-time then, and Saints went for the kill in the second half. Paul Wright shielding the ball well and setting up Harry Curran, but the finish wasn't worthy of the build-up. The same 2 players were involved in Saints' next attack. Brian Grant intervened as Wright sent the ball through, and he had to look sharp to prevent an own goal. Then Andy Rhodes showed how to turn defence into attack, sprinting from his goal and inviting Gunny Torfason to chase his pass. He did just that, and a bit more curl in the shot, and that would have been a cracker. The closing stages belonged to Aberdeen, the first of many efforts coming from Ian Jess, but it didn't trouble Rhodes. Brian Irvin was now playing as an out-and-out striker, and he set up a great chance for Patalainen, but it too went a-begging. Then Irvin got on the end of Paul Kane's cross and sent in a header, but again Rhodes was equal to it. We were well into stoppage time now, just under 4 minutes in fact when the Dons equalised. Kane's corner was headed across goal by Irvin. Connor directed it towards the net and Scott Booth pounced to finish it at 1-1, just before 10-5.
A one-each draw against Celtic at Pittodrie came next, and then came the visit of Motherwell.
And here come Aberdeen right away, a save from Dykstra, and the chance was on there for Joe Miller. Well, Aberdeen posting early notice. And that draws applause from their fans in the new stand just behind Dykstra. And Miller winning the corner kick. So it's Robert Connor who switched over to this right side to put it there. Thought possibly the in-swinger. He plays it short there to Kane. The chance on there, and Aberdeen take the lead. Scott Booth in the very first minute of the match. Well, what a terrific start for Aberdeen and for Scott Booth. It was Connor who played the corner shot to Ken. He flighted it in, and there was Scott Booth completely unmarked, a biggie spot beyond Steve Dykstra. McKinnon trying to get forward, finds O'Donnell. Nice little touch through there from Lambert. In it from Kirk there, headed away by Irvin. And as far as Martin. Another upward one, the goalkeeper stumbles, in comes Kirk. And there's claims for handball there against McKinney. But the referee pointing out towards the corner flag. So it was sent back in there by Brian Martin. A high outward ball, the goalkeeper lost his footing here. And McKinney it was who made the interception, and I think the referee got that absolutely right. So the in-swinger, the goalkeeper's in trouble again, Kirk's in there, and Motherwell have equalised. 4 minutes gone, and Steve Kirk grabs the equaliser. Aberdeen 1, Motherwell 1.
Scott Booth on the mark there for Aberdeen, but what of Ian Jess, who was having a lean time in front of goal? How difficult is it for a young player in the Premier Division?
Well, we can speak about him being a young player this season. I'm not going to speak about him being a young player next season. I think that he is a victim of his own success, and people do give him that extra wee bit of attention. But he's now 23. I'm looking for him to take the responsibility of being able to handle that close attention that he's had this season, because he's a very talented and gifted player. But when you get that bit extra attention, then you've got to work even harder to make sure you get away from your marker, to make sure you get the space and the time to display the undoubted skills that he's got, and that will be asked and demanded from him next season.
But if there were too many draws at that stage of the season, it was a different story on November the 27th, when Hibs came north to face a Dons side full of confidence, and again Shearer was in the mood.
Aberdeen resumed command and took the lead when a crisp passing move featuring Wright and Shearer ended with ex-Hib Paul Kane just getting the better of ex-Don Jim Leighton to send the Dons in leading 1-0. Ian Jess was probably the only frustrated Don in the park after this match, firing just wide of Leighton's goal after more good build-up play by Miller. For all Aberdeen dominated, it took until 11 minutes from time for them to increase their lead. Patience, the key in the build-up. Miller's cross, the perfect invitation for Robert Connor. The third was another Joe Miller creation. The ball hooked into the centre and dispatched mercilessly by Duncan Shearer. There was still time for one more. Connor's corner not properly cleared, and Brian Grant taking the ball first time to make it 4-0.
An indifferent performance at Ibrox saw Aberdeen go down 2-0, and they had to try to pick themselves up again for the away match here at Tynecastle, where a defensive blunder gave Hearts the opener through the tenacious John Cahoon. It meant yet again that the Dons had to pick themselves up from a goal down, and Duncan Shearer finished off this move. Although he'd gone off in that game, Joe Miller was beginning to show the kind of form which prompted Willie Miller to sign him from Celtic for £350,000.
Yeah, he's come in, he's done great, Joe. I mean, I got him again, but we're into the season. He didn't spend the pre-season with us. I'm looking forward to getting a full pre-season with him and getting a full year out of him in the new season. But he's come in and he's played particularly well in a number of games. He's scored some very important goals for us. Even when I've had him on the bench and I've brought him off the bench, he's come on and he's turned game for us, in cup ties in particular. And you know, for what I paid for him, I think he's been a very valuable buy for us. He's had 1 or 2 injury problems this season. As I says, I'm looking for even better things for him next season once we get a full pre-season with him under our belt, and hopefully avoids injuries that sniggled him this season.
Joe scored Aberdeen's only goal in the 1-1 draw the following week at Raith Rovers. Then goals from Irvine and Shearer helped to dump Partick Thistle at home. December 18th and Kilmarnock, battling to consolidate in the Premier Division, arrived at Pittodrie hoping for a point, and they were in fighting mood. Joe Miller, Lee Richardson and Duncan Shearer, however, had other ideas about Killy's aspirations in these early attacks.
2 minutes later, Aberdeen went ahead. A long kick out by Schnelders beat the Killy defence, and Joe Miller cleverly chipped the ball over Geddes. Route 1 to goal proving effective. 1-0 Aberdeen at the break. The Dons stepped things up in the second half, showing a hunger for more goals. Their endeavours were rewarded in the 57th minute when Joe Miller whipped in a cross from the right, which Duncan Shearer headed into the net. 2-0 Aberdeen, and Shearer's 16th goal of the season. A minute later, Geddes was picking the ball out of the net again. Joe Miller sent Ian Jess away down the right. The striker looked up and played in a low cross which Lee Richardson whipped past the Killy keeper. Aberdeen were cruising towards victory now, and perhaps they relaxed a little, allowing Kilmarnock to exert some pressure, which brought them a consolation goal in the 84th minute. Williamson's cross pushed in at the far post by Skilling.
Before the home game against St Johnstone on January the 8th, there was a minute's silence as a mark of respect for Don's chairman Dick Donald, who died on Hogmanay. Then the Pittodrie side set about trying to dismantle the tough Perth defence.
Ian Jess, the international striker, trying to give them an early lead. But Andy Rhodes there to block his effort. A blow for St Johnstone. They lost John Davis after 27 minutes. Philip Scott replacing him. The Saints' first real threat came from Harry Curran. 25 yards out. But his effort just wide of Snelder's goal. Aberdeen's response was immediate. Snelder's kick out, headed on by Ian Jess. Duncan Shearer coming into the frame. And he produced that hook shot, which Rhodes touched over the bar. The St Johnstone keeper proved his worth again. This time, a Shearer header, but no goals at the interval. 2 minutes after the restart, a power failure in the Richard Donald stand caused the floodlights at the beach end to go out. After consultation with both benches, referee Douglas Hope sent the players back to the dressing rooms while repairs could be effected. 15 minutes later, the floodlights came back on, and so too did the two teams. Within 2 minutes, Rhodes was again in action, saving a speculative effort from Stephen Wright. But it was the Perth Saints who broke the deadlock. Tommy Turner shrugging off Shearer's challenge and placing the ball into the box where Ian Ferguson stroked it into the net. 1-0 to the Saints. 5 minutes later, Aberdeen were level. The long kick out from Snelders, Cherry and Turner flapping, and Duncan Shearer taking advantage, making it 1-1. The Dons had a couple of chances to win the match. Shearer setting up Joe Miller for this 20-yard effort. Rhodes again the equal of it. And in the dying moments, a neat Dons move ended with Joe Miller firing the ball into the side netting.
Another draw, and two more were to follow, against Celtic and here at Pittodrie against Rangers after a 1-0 win at Dundee. If the Reds needed a pick-me-up, and they clearly did, it wasn't to come on February the 5th at Easter Road, where very little went right.
Jess pouncing. Miller's with him. Still it's Jess looking for some support here. Back it goes to Richardson. The first time shot, that's deflected. And Aberdeen take the lead. 16 minutes gone. And Lee Richardson gets his 6th goal of the season. But that ball taking a deflection.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a break for Aberdeen here. The ball sits up nicely here for Lee Richardson, and very unlucky for Hibs. He takes a deflection off the Hibs defender into the corner of the net. There's Gareth Evans. Evans caught out there by Richardson. Play on as a referee. This is Miller driving it through. It's a good effort and a fine save by Snelders. Still the ball's in play. It's Lennon. To the far post, the header from Keith Wright. And Aberdeen get the equaliser. 60 minutes. And Keith Wright gets goal number 11 of the season. It's Aberdeen 1, Aberdeen 1. This is Lennon onto the left foot, headed away by McLeish. It's Farrell. A chance on here for Wright. And Keith Wright does it again. Again it's O'Neill. Lennon. Lennon tries a shot. And it's all over now. Danny Lennon.
Gloom turned to happiness for the Dons just 7 days later at Pittodrie, when Raith Rovers paid another trip north and Snelders was in early action.
Raith clearly fancied their chances in the opening stages, and when Rowbottom swung in a cross from the left, he was aiming for Ali Graham. Stuart McKimmie had to be quick to make the telling clearance. The chances kept coming for the Rovers. Sinclair got a lucky break there, but his cross just eluding Cameron. Aberdeen started to get into the game. Paul Kane floating the ball in from the left, and Scott Thompson doing well to keep Shearer's head flick out. From Jim Bett's corner, Brian Irvine powered a header against the bar. The ball eventually scrambled clear. The Dons were definitely in the mood now. Kane prodding the ball into Shearer's path, and the big striker just off target. The breakthrough came in the closing minutes of the first half. McKimmie's punt upfield, allowing Patalainen to get in behind Coyle and lift the ball over the despairing Thompson. 1-0 Aberdeen at the break. The Raith Rovers goalkeeper had to look sharp early in the second half. Paul Kane's vicious drive forcing a tremendous save. The men from Kirkcaldy still had their moments. McStay's long throw in, eventually falling for Jason Dare, but just wide of target. Ian Jess was next up for the Dons, taking Shearer's layoff and sending the shot just wide of the target. The second goal came from a sweet Aberdeen move. The back heel from Jess opening up play. Grant's cross falling nicely for Shearer. 2-0 to Aberdeen. And within 3 minutes, it was 3. Jess teeing up Kane for the cross. Shearer couldn't connect properly, but Patalainen did. 3-0. And then it was 4. Paul Kane back in the side, a good through ball to Scott Booth. He beat Rowbottom and then buried a shot past Thompson. Rovers were awarded a late penalty when Irvine was judged to have fouled Graham. Gordon Dale stepping forward to take the kick, but Snelders saving. And that's how it ended, 4-0.
The Kirkcaldy side fell to the Dons in the Scottish Cup the following week thanks to a Joe Miller goal, but there was nothing to write home about in the next league game when Hearts were the visitors.
And Hearts' aggressive approach was rewarded after half an hour when they took the lead. Foster again created the chance. His cross from the left turned home by Scott Leach. To make matters worse for Aberdeen, Theo Snelders dislocated a shoulder when he collided with Brian Grant going for Foster's cross. He had to go off and was replaced by third-choice goalkeeper Derek Stilley. Aberdeen tried to get back on level terms, but the best they could muster in the first half was a weak effort from Paul Kane, which was easily gathered by Henry Smith.
1-0 then to Hearts and to more Scottish Cup business with 2 games needed against St Johnstone to win through to the semi-final of the Cup. March 19th and a long trip to Kilmarnock, with Tommy Burns' men always likely to pull out their best form against the big guns. Young goalkeeper Derek Stilley was in the Dons lineup for the injured Schnelders, and Stilley was involved in a controversial incident early on, but there was no penalty for Killie.
Aberdeen took the lead totally against the run of play. Stuart McKimmy's long throw going all the way through to Joe Miller at the far corner of the box, and his hook shot eluded Geddes and landed in the back of the net. Killie's best attempt to get on level terms by half-time came from a weak right foot shot by McSkimming, which was easily dealt with by Stilley. Aberdeen had an early chance in the second half, but Lee Richardson's free kick didn't have the power to really trouble Geddes. Then Killie player boss Tommy Burns had a go at goal. His drive was heading for the net until Paul Kane got in the way to concede a corner. Aberdeen got the cushion of a second goal in 56 minutes. The Killie defence looking for offside against Stuart McKimmy. He saw his shot saved, but followed up to square for Duncan Shearer to score. Then some concerted pressure brought Kilmarnock back into the game. McCluskey rounded Stilley, but his effort was booted away by Gary Smith. There were shouts for a penalty as McLeish challenged Tom Brown, but McCluskey played to the whistle and he almost got the reward. But the break wasn't long in coming for Killie. Alec McLeish's header out from a corner landing at Black's feet, and he drilled the ball home through a crowded penalty area. Aberdeen restored their two-goal lead when Ian Jess was set free in the left by Lee Richardson, the Dons striker supplying a controlled finish. With the minutes ticking away, Killie pulled another goal back. Substitute Stephen McCloy beating McKimmy in the chase, clipping the ball past Stilley and into the net.
Ian Jess getting his name on the score sheet for the first time in 10 games and coming to terms with being a player for whom there is special attention from defenders.
I found it really hard this season. I mean, last season I seemed to got a lot more space, but this season it's been really tight. I mean, I've been sort of man-marked or whatever, and it becomes hard and it gets frustrating for myself. But I suppose you just have to deal with that and just get on with the game. But I found it really hard compared to last season.
It was tight for Jess at Pittodrie the following week, but Dundee United perhaps should have paid greater attention to that man Duncan Shearer in a fixture he really enjoys.
I was lucky enough to score that day when the ball came in. I can't remember who put the ball in from the right, and it just swivelled. I didn't connect as nice as I would have liked to, but the ball managed to trundle into the net, and in the end it proved the winning goal for us.
The Dons' championship hopes took a severe dent on March 29th against Hibs, even though they were handed the chance of an early goal.
Referee McVicker says a penalty, but the replay shows it was a soft one. However, justice was done when Leighton saved the spot kick. Shearer denied. It was still 0-0. It was Hibs who took the lead 10 minutes later. Michael O'Neill turning young Hugh Robertson inside out on the wing before crossing for Keith Wright to beat Derek Stilley 1-0 to Hibs. Leighton and Shearer were in the thick of things again a minute before half-time. The keeper claims he was pushed by the Don striker, allowing Ian Jess to make it 1-1. Scotland's most capped goalkeeper had to be restrained by his old teammate Alec McLeish. When you look at the replay, you realise why he was so unhappy. Clearly a push there on the goalkeeper. But Ian Jess popping up to make it 1-1 at half-time. Controversy then in the first half, and it was to be repeated in the second. Michael O'Neill repeating his first half exploits down the right, causing problems for the Dons' defence. But as they stood looking for offside, Wright headed down to Evans, Evans back to Wright, thank you very much, 2-1 to Hibs in 53 minutes. Keith Wright's second goal of the night. Within 60 seconds, the Dons replied. A good move down the right, and Joe Miller was there to make it 2-2. But there was more to come, 15 minutes remaining, and the Dons still looking for the third goal. The corner kick again proving a problem, McKimmy with a blast, and then it falls to international striker Ian Jess. Great shot and save. Jim Leighton again the hero for Hibs. 10 minutes remaining and a corner at the other end. Stephen Tweed rising above Derek Stilley. Aberdeen 2, Hibernian 3.
That was the kind of game which let Aberdeen down in their quest for the title, even though, as manager Miller points out, they usually do well against stronger opposition, like Rangers.
In the league programme, it's pretty even. One victory for each team and 2 draws, so it's been very close so far this season. Rangers have dominated the game for 5-6 seasons in Scotland, and they have resources and financial resources that are quite frightening. They get an injury, they go out and spend $2 million in a player and solves a problem. Other clubs just can't do that. I think the message is that this season has been a wee bit frustrating in terms of, you know, we've went over it and we've spoken about certain games where we have been pretty close to getting to Scottish Cup final, perhaps in the latter stages of Europe and the League Cup. The league, we've been actually in the top 3/4 for most of the season, and you know, if we finish second, if we finish third, we're not too far away from it. So the message for next season is that we look to improve in the squad, we look to strengthen the squad within the realms that I'm allowed to strengthen the squad, and we look to compete and do better than what we did this season. I think that's how you always look at the new season.
Rangers got the early breakthrough against Aberdeen, and a superb goal it was too. Stuart McCall charging forward, set up beautifully by McCoist, and he placed it past Burridge. But Aberdeen staged an immediate fight back, some nice passing and a great chance for Brian Grant, but he blasted wide of target. In spite of that, the Dons kept at it. Grant again in space on the right. And he fed Duncan Shearer, but the striker's shot was wide. But Shearer began causing real problems for Rangers. He took up good position and he had Gorham under pressure. The keeper blocked his effort, and then Ian Jess blasted wide. Into the second half, and Aberdeen continued to threaten the Rangers' goal. Ray McKinnon moved down the left, and he crossed well, and John Brown came so close to giving the Dons the equaliser. But Aberdeen got back on level terms in real style. Grant, Kane and Shearer all involved. And then the chance fell to Kane, and he promptly buried it. But then Rangers created 2 match-winning chances. Mikhailichenko fed Jury. He crossed for Haitley, but the post denied him. And then a real let-off for Aberdeen. Jury in and round Burridge. But his goal-bound effort lacked pace, and McLeish nipped in to clear. 1-1 it finished.
Last season, yeah, Rangers held the upper hand over us. This season it's been much more even. That's us get a draw here, they get a draw at Pittodrum. We've both won our home game, our home game in the league. So we're all even in the league. It's not the Rangers game that has troubled us and find us so far behind Rangers, it's other games. And, you know, we've lost 4 points to Hibs and Hearts at home after going over a year without a defeat at home. And these are the games that are costing us really being up there and making it very difficult for Rangers.
April the 5th, Partick Thistle versus Aberdeen, and another share of the points.
It was the Dons who struck first in 8 minutes in bizarre fashion. Grant Tierney powering the header into his own goal. An unexpected 12th man for the Dons. The corner from Hugh Robertson met perfectly by Tierney. The only problem was he was at the wrong end. 1-0 to Aberdeen. Minutes later he tried to make amends. Chick Charnley's free kick onto the head of Tierney, but it went just wide. 4 minutes had passed and it was played again, Chick. Charnley's left foot, again a danger to the Dons' defence. Tierney knocking it down to Roddy Grant, but he was blocked by Burridge. And the ball eventually cleared. The Jags were enjoying the bulk of the pressure, and with 5 minutes to go to half-time, they were pushing for the equaliser. The move there only partially cleared to Chick Charnley. He lobbed one into the box, McKimmie and Irvin getting an ankle, and Roddy Grant lashing the ball into the net. His 15th goal of the season, 1-1 at half-time. Aberdeen's best effort in the second half came in 68 minutes. Stuart McKimmie cutting in from the right, and his shot deflected off the top of Nelson's bar. Ian Jess turned the Jags' defence and found space, but he lacked the killer punch to beat Nelson. It finished all square.
Still, the Dons held on to hopes that the league championship could be theirs. But along came the disappointment of the Scottish Cup semi-final replay defeat by Dundee United. Tommy McLean's Motherwell was still battling it out at the top of the table with Rangers and Aberdeen. And when the Steelmen visited Pittodrie, it ended goalless.
This early miss by Tommy Coyne set the pattern of things to come. Motherwell had another opportunity to grab the lead when a mix-up between Smith and Kane gave O'Donnell the chance to put Coyne clear, but Schnelders beat him to the ball and Aberdeen breathed again. Motherwell took the honours from a disappointing first half then, the Aberdeen fans having little to get excited about. The visitors threatened again early in the second half. Arnott setting up the chance for Phil O'Donnell. He had Schnelders scrambling, but the effort was always going wide. Aberdeen created few chances in this match. When an opportunity did fall for them, the usually deadly Duncan Shearer hooked the ball over the bar from close range. A slip by Alex McLeish gave Jamie Dolan a chance to break the deadlock, but Schnelders blocked his shot and then cleared the danger as substitute Paul McGrillen rushed in. The Dons had the last chance of this match, but Scott Booth scooped the ball over the bar. No goals in this game.
Then Thistle again, this time at home.
Wide open spaces in the stands suggest a lot of the Pittodrie support have called time on this season. The lack of atmosphere didn't help the players, and it took 25 minutes for the first real goal threat. Paul Kane's shot partially saved by Nelson and booted clear by Byrne. Then Byrne got involved at the other end, blasting wide after being set up by Chick Charnley. The best chance of the first half fell to Thistle. Roddy Grant picking out Isaac English on the run, but Schnelders did well to block him. And English got another sight of goal just before the break. Bobby Law playing him in, but he hit the side netting. Thistle made the brighter start to the second half, Roddy Grant heading over from Charnley's cross. Then Charnley presented Albert Craig with a shooting chance, but Schnelders made the save at his right-hand post. Aberdeen got their act together late in the game, Brian Irvin taking the spectacular route to goal to be beaten by the woodwork. And with 5 minutes to go, the Dons finally took the lead. Brian Grant sending in the cross, Duncan Shearer doing well to set the ball up, and Ian Jess finding the corner of the net. Aberdeen got a second goal in the last minute just to make sure. Great awareness from Jess to put Brian Grant in, and a good finish from the midfield man to keep Aberdeen third in the table.
Willie Miller's always been aware of the danger Brian Irvin displays in the opponent's penalty area, and of the all-round enthusiasm the big centre-half shows.
I would say that, particularly in the latter part of the season, he's put a run together and he scored important goals for us at important games, at important times in the games. And we've had a lot of draws this season, and I think that's what's been lacking at certain stages in the games. We've had chances, we haven't put them away. Brian has certainly turned draws into victories for us, particularly in the running, particularly in the last 10 games of the season. If we'd have had maybe one or two players who would have done that in other parts of the season, then we'd have had quite a number of points more than what we've got in the league table.
With European football beckoning for 1994-95, the Dons couldn't afford to take their foot off the pedal, and St Johnstone had to be dispatched.
Dodds is always a constant threat, this time to the Dons. His cross from the right midway through the half, finding Ian Ferguson, the header wide. The first half belonged to Saints. They had another chance to score just before the break, but Dodds headed Miller's cross straight at Schnelders. Aberdeen started the second half with Lee Richardson on for Ian Jess. The Dons hadn't created a decent chance in the first half, but a long ball from Brian Grant produced an opening a minute after the restart. Duncan Shearer controlled it, but Andy Rhodes denied the Dons' opener. Aberdeen appeared to have shaken off their first half lethargy. Richardson trying the 1-2 with Smith, but the shot was blocked. McKinnon's effort then suffered a similar fate, and Richardson finished off the move, the curling shot going just over the bar. St Johnstone, though, still posed a threat. Dodds got in the end of Ferguson's header, but Snelders saving comfortably. And the keeper, who's just been named in the Dutch World Cup squad, was in action again, showing his class. A minute later, leaving Billy Dodds wondering what he'd have to do to beat the Dutchman. With 3 minutes remaining, Aberdeen were awarded a free kick on the edge of the box. Andy Roddy flighting the ball in and Brian Irvine heading into the empty net. 1-0 to Aberdeen. It was the goal which secured a European place for the Dons, and it may prove to be the goal which put St Johnstone into the First Division. In contrast with Rugby Park, a scene of dismay and dejection at the final whistle at Perth. St Johnstone go into the last league Saturday as prime contenders for the third relegation spot after dropping the points against Aberdeen.
And so to the final league fixture, with Celtic the visitors and Rangers having already sewn up the championship some weeks earlier. Celtic had notched up 19 draws to date, Aberdeen 20. And so was a share of the spoils inevitable.
Aberdeen battled to get back on level terms. Kane's corner, headed towards goal by Irvine. Smith headed clear, but only to Stuart McKimmie, his effort saved by Pat Bonner. The Dons had more luck with their next corner. Brian Irvine heading Kane's kick past Bonner to square things 1-1. Corners were certainly causing Celtic problems. This time Kane's kick fell to Andy Roddy, but the young striker could only hit the side netting. Into the second half, and Duncan Shearer created space for himself, but his shot from the edge of the box flew wide. Sheer determination produced an opening for Simon Donnelly. The player in great form in recent weeks, but his final effort was weak. Burridge gathering at the second attempt. A good run by Willie Faulkner opened up a gap in the Dons' defence. He tried a shot, but Burridge saved. The game ended 1-1. Aberdeen finished in second place, Celtic in fourth.
And so the Dons finish runners-up, just 3 points behind Rangers. And Willie Miller is philosophical about his role as manager.
I mean, you know what sort of a pressures you're going to be under when you take over any club, and it's no any different having played for the club or having come from outside. The lads who I did play with have been great. I mean, they've supported me well throughout the 2 years, and I haven't had a problem there because I feel that they always have been good pros at Aberdeen. I played for 20 years. The guy like McLeish for something like 16, 17 and still playing. And we've had that nucleus throughout the term, which we hope spreads into the players who we bring in. And we've always been fortunate, and the players that we've brought in have been of a certain quality and type that are good for the club, good for Aberdeen Football Club, and certainly have been no problem at all in terms of me adjusting from the playing side to the managing side.
But is it all that you imagined?
I mean, playing is the thing to be doing. I mean, without doubt, you ask anybody involved in management, and the first thing they'll say is there's only one thing to be doing in football, and that's playing. That's the most enjoyable part of it. But there comes a time where you've got to step away from that, get into the coaching, get into the managing side, and then you take that, you take all the hassle that goes with that, and you get on, you enjoy it, and you hope to be successful at it.
And so Aberdeen ended their 1993-94 campaign with disappointment. But with European football scheduled for next season, Dons fans have a great deal to look forward to.